Hi everyone, my name is Ash Wilson. I use they, them pronouns. I'm an assistant director in KU Student Housing. Our friends over at the Emily Taylor Center for Women and Gender Equity asked if I would host a little session on gift wrapping. So I have a gift wrapping side hustle that I do. I found that some people, right, either people love gift wrapping or they hate gift wrapping, and that is helpful for me for my side hustle. For all the people that don't like it, I get to do it for them. And I think that it is a really fun skill and tool to do. I think that gift wrapping helps people know that we're thinking about them and caring about them. And it's pretty inexpensive, right? A roll of wrapping paper, you can go to the dollar store and get a roll of wrapping paper. And so it's a pretty inexpensive hobby and a way to show people that we're thinking about them and caring about them and putting in just really time into our lives for them, for whatever occasion we're giving a gift for. So I'm here to teach us how to do that. So before we get started, some tools that you'll need: a pair of scissors, a roll of tape, some wrapping paper. If you don't have wrapping paper, usually newspaper will do in a pinch, and then an item to wrap. So today we're going to be wrapping some breast milk storage bags. My wife and I recently had a baby and we didn't get to use these. And so we're gifting them to a new baby coming into the world soon for a gift. So I'm going to take some wrapping paper. And part of the fun for me with wrapping is picking a wrapping paper that I think fits the person or the occasion really well. I think that can show some additional effort or time or thought and just be a nice touch. And so find a gift wrap that you think will be good for this other person. This is probably the most challenging part of gift wrapping. And if you hate gift wrapping, this might usually be why. It's measuring how much paper do I actually need. So I'll show you a way to measure so that we can get a good amount of paper, not too much, but not too little. And that really makes all the difference in gift wrapping. Okay, so I changed the camera so you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. Before we get started on the measuring part, we're going to prepare whatever it is that we're wrapping. So right now I have a pretty solid box here with some 90-degree angles. That makes it really easy to wrap, but I do have this flap up here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tape that down so that it's easier for us to wrap. Usually just one piece of tape will do. It's usually not too big of a deal, and the person you won't be able to see it after the gift is wrapped. And so made that all nice and clean there for me. So I'm going to take the item and I'm going to put it on the paper. The way that I measure, and it was the way that my mom taught me how to measure, so shout out old school mom. What you do is you take your item and you flip it and roll it into the paper so that you know the length, and then we'll do the width as well. So I have the edge of the box right up against the edge of the paper, and I'm going to take the box and just roll it until it covers all four sides. So now I know how much of a width that I need. A lot of papers currently are really handy because they have grids on the paper so that you can cut straight lines and make sure you're folding on seams and things like that. This paper does have a grid on the back. And so what I'll do now that I know the width that I need, I'm going to add, and the grid is usually about a square inch. And so you also know how much you're cutting. I'm going to add just 1 square inch. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut all along that line. I can move my item now that I'm wrapping, and I'm just going to cut all the way up. With scissors, once you usually are cutting the paper, once you have a good cut, you can just slide your scissors up like this so that you're not cutting and cutting and cutting. And that helps give a cleaner line. So I know that this is the width that I need because I did my handy dandy flip. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I need to get it the right length. To do that, I'm going to put my paper, the item on the edge of the paper again, and push the item in so that when I fold this up, it covers half of the width of the box. So you see here, it covers the full box. That's going to be twice as much as I need. And so I'm going to pull it back. I'm actually going to count. I see that that's 4 square inches. So I'm going to pull it back so that it's maybe 2.5, give myself a little bit of wiggle room. And I can see that that comes up about halfway to my box. So I'm going to cut, I counted that's 2.5. I'm going to come over here to this side and count 2.5 and then make that cut so that I have the right size paper. So now we know we have the right size paper. That is probably the hardest part about wrapping. So make sure you get a good measure and the rest is pretty easy. So the next part that I do is I pick the side that I want to have the seam on of the paper. That's usually for me the back. And so I put the back facing up and then I can pull my paper around and that's where the seam is. I also think it's a nice touch to have the seam of the paper going down the middle. And so for me right now, the seam is off center. And so what I'm going to do is just move the box slightly so that when I pull this other side over, it's more in the middle and gives just a nicer presentation. So that seam's in the middle. Once I have that, I'm going to just use a piece of tape. And tape the seam. From there, you do the sides. How I do the sides, everyone does it a little bit differently. I take the top and I fold it down. So you can see here, take the top, fold it down, and I'm going to push all the way over to the corner, and that gives a nice clean triangle there. So I do that, and once I get that nice clean point, I slide my nail down this piece of paper, which just gives it a crisper look. I do the same on the other side. So I push over to the corner and it makes that seam. And then I crisp that line there. And so now you have 2 edges. That's what it kind of looks like at this point. Now what I do is I pull these corners over. So pull the corner over and you'll have another triangle here at the bottom. I crisp that line as well. If you want to get really fancy, you could take your credit card to crisp up that line as well. And then I do the next side. At this point, if it's easier for you to tape it, you can absolutely tape at this point. I like to just use the least amount of tape as possible. So when I fold that up, I'll just tape, I'll use 1 piece of tape to cover all of those points there. Okay, so that's what the end will look like. Then I flip it over and I just do the same to the other side. When I'm wrapping, I like both side directions to be pointing in the same way. And so I just spun the box and I do it in the same order so that I know it's going to be symmetrical. That's not a huge deal. It's more personal preference. And so whatever floats your boat is beautiful. So now we have a fully wrapped, adorable pink little gift. This is when I look to see, is there a place that doesn't have tape that I think could have tape just to make it look a little bit better. And I see a spot up here, and so I'll just put a little piece of tape there. The next part is to decorate a bit. So there's the standard ribbons, bows, things like that that you can all use. Something that I like to do is use the leftover wrapping paper that I have. So if you remember, we cut off this big chunk that I'll use for another gift. But what I'll do for this one to decorate a little is to cut off a square inch, not a square inch, an inch strip. And then I'll show you what we can do with that. So on the back, we have that grid line. I'll cut off an inch, and I'll cut a 2-inch strip too. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. The length doesn't really matter. So I'll just go the entire length of our scrap. I'll do that again with the 1 inch. And so you can see that this is a 2-inch strip. It's not showing up very well, but there's a line down the middle here that divides it in half that you can see it's a 1 inch or a 2-inch strip. So I have my 1 inch strip and my 2-inch strip. So what I'm gonna do now is curl the wrapping paper. So you can, to decorate your gift, you can get ribbons, curling paper, lots of different things. This is gonna be the least expensive because you already have it with you. So you don't have to buy a bunch of things. So to curl the wrapping paper, you take your scissors and open them up. And then you take your wrapping paper and hold it in your non-dominant hand, hold the scissors in your dominant hand. You're gonna press down gently with your thumb with the scissors, holding the paper, and you're gonna pull the wrapping paper. And sometimes you have to do it a couple times, but you can see I already have a little bit of a curl there. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until I have the curl that I want. And so now I have this cute curl in the same color that matches the gift. I'm not gonna use this whole strip, so what I'll do is I'll just cut wherever I don't want. I'm gonna do the same with the other one. I'm gonna cut that beforehand, just so it's a little bit easier to work with. So I'm gonna take the paper again with my open scissors, put the scissors on the white part of the paper on the back, and I'm gonna gently pull. They press down and pull. Sometimes the paper rips. I'll show you what I mean. So if I were pulling and if I was pressing too hard and pulling too hard, the paper can rip. That's okay. You'll just get a different one and try again. So don't be frustrated if you can't get it the first time. It's not that big of a deal. So I have my 2 ribbons. I'm going to put them together. I'm going to trim them together so that they're the length that I want. I'm going to take my gift. I'm going to first tape the 2 ribbons together so that I have them on top of each other. Really, however you want to arrange them is fine. Then I like to tuck them because you have these seams on top here. I'm going to tuck this one right inside this seam. Just makes it a little bit cleaner so that it's coming out of a spot that you already are expecting there to be right a seam there. So we do that. I'm going to tape it on so that it'll stay. And I'm just going to fuss with it a little bit. So if I don't like how this 2-inch one is laying, I can cut it up the middle and make 2 1-inch. I like that a little bit better. And so we'll curl those papers again. And now I have a cute bow ribbon that's coming off of the package in the exact same paper so that it matches perfectly and goes really nice together. You can also then add, if you wanted, you can write directly on the wrapping paper who it's to, or you can put a little sticker on it. There's lots of pre-made stickers, again, at the dollar store. It's a really, really inexpensive place to go to do presents, gifts, balloons, things like that. So that is how you wrap a gift. Again, probably the hardest part is getting the measurement right. And so you'll have to practice a couple times probably to figure out how to do that in a way that looks good and feels good. I'm also going to show you, I think I was talking earlier about picking out the perfect paper for someone. Part of that for me is through an identity lens of what identities do these people hold, or does the person I'm giving a gift hold, and making sure that I'm taking that into account as I'm giving a gift. For example, if I have a Jewish friend, it could be insensitive for me to give them a gift around Hanukkah that's wrapped in Christmas paper. It might not be for everyone, and it's an important piece to think about and to consider as we're giving gifts. For folks who are queer, having some paper that speaks to queerness. For folks of color, having some paper that speaks to folks of color. So I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I have a few paper that I would love to show you. So this is a fun Christmas paper, Santa paper that has a lot of different skin tone Santas, right? And so I usually save this for folks who I'm wrapping for that have different skin tones in their family, a variety of skin tones, or people of color, because white folks get to see Santa in a way that looks like them all the time. And so it's really important to be able to represent different races, identities, skin tones, etc. For folks, especially for little kids, right? Because when we're thinking about Christmas and wrapping presents for Christmas, sometimes it's little ones. And so it's important for them to be able to see people that look like them in all different kinds of media. And Santa is one of those. This is another one that has different races of Santa, different skin tones of Santa. And I didn't get these anyplace special. I got these probably at Walmart or Target. I know that Michael's has some, and so there's lots of fun places. This one's one of my favorite. Identifies queer in multiple ways. I didn't really tell you all that. I skipped over that. So identifies queer in multiple ways. This one's just fun, right? It's bright, it's rainbows. And so if I'm wrapping for someone that I know is queer, I'll probably throw a couple gifts wrapped in this in, just because it's fun to see symbols that represent people. Here's one for Hanukkah. Again, right, it's just important to have that awareness and to have some options. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and buy wrapping paper for every identity that people hold. And it's important to be thinking about how can we help people see themselves and feel represented and in media and culture in their lives. And this is an easy way that I get to do that. And so be thinking about what that looks like. If you ever need help, please reach out. I'm happy to help. This is just a fun side hustle that I have. If you need some paper for people that you don't want to go out and buy, it's too expensive, you don't have access, resources, etc. If you see something here, I'm happy to share. I have probably at this point over 100 different rolls of wrapping paper. And so I have plenty to go around. The best time to buy wrapping paper is after the season. Usually that means right after Christmas. Rolls will end up being $1, $2, $3 a roll, and it can be really easy to stock up there if you're looking for a way to save money and also have some good options. So that's our time today with gift wrapping. If you want more information about my side hustle, you can go to Gift Wrapping by Ash. You can Google that and my website will come up. I have lots of different options. I'll pull it up here just so that you can see what that looks like. Okay, so I Googled Gift Wrapping by Ash up here. There's a Facebook page that's mine, and then also this Google site that's mine. And so the first two things that come up, if you click either of them, it'll get you to me. This Google Maps is also me. And so however you want to find me, it should be pretty easy. So you'll just click website, and then you'll come to the website. Up here, there's a menu. It talks about who we are, me and my wife, kind of what we value, how we started Gift Wrapping by Ash, what some priorities are, and you get to see cute pictures of cats and cross stitch. So who doesn't love cats and cross stitch? There's a pricing site, and so all the prices are pretty transparent. If you have questions, happy to answer what those are. And then my favorite part is looking at the paper selection. And so there's lots of different options here. So if you want to only look at Christmas paper, you can sort by Christmas paper. And I let you all pick the paper that I use to wrap the gifts. And so there's a form to indicate, to place an order basically, and you can tell me what paper you want me to wrap your gifts in. The order form is where you submit an order. It's just a form that's embedded there. And then I have a finished product gallery. And so these are just some of the pictures of the finished products that I've been able to wrap for people. Some are fancier than others. This is one of my favorite here, this Christmas with bows. And some people just want a basic present, no gift, no ribbons, no frill. And so we can do either of those two. So if you have any questions, if you need help, if you want to just talk about gift wrapping, it's oddly a fun thing that I like to do. So let me know if I can be helpful. My contact information will be all up in whatever post is made, and we'll connect. Thanks so much. Have fun.